Morning, friends. A little bit of a different project on the lift today. This is my kid's scooter, and this summer she's looking to save some money on fuel by riding this to work. This thing has been sitting in the barn for quite a while now. It needs a little bit, so I got a new battery for it. But the biggest thing is, where we live is a real rural area, and this is the Metropolitan 2, so it doesn't have a whole lot of pick up and go. So what I bought is one of these Polini high-speed kits. They seem to review out real well, and everybody says it gives it a lot more pickup and a lot more go. And where we're at, you know, if you're getting out on the road and whatnot, you want to kind of take off fast enough and get up to a reasonable speed to be able to stay out of traffic. Not that there's a lot of traffic in our area. Again, it's pretty rural, but you know, I'd like her to be able to get out there and get to speed pretty fast. So today I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to remove the stock Variaror components, roller weights and whatnot. So I'm going to walk you guys through that process. It's a fairly easy process. I've seen it done a few times. I've never done it personally myself, but I've watched it done. My brother has a few of these scooters. He's got them all hopped up and they're super fast. And this is the kit that he recommended, so this is the kit we're going to go with. First, I'm going to start by taking off the stock air box here, just to get everything out of the way. So a couple of case bolts behind this breather here, so I need to remove it. This whole bike needs a bath, and you let things sit for a long time, they get kind of gross, and I know this thing really needs to be washed. Bought it quite a few years ago with fairly low miles on it and really never rode it a whole lot. It's, like I said, it's really slow, so that was a lot of the reason why it never got ridden. No one liked it. So I kind of just set it aside and just left it alone until I could, you know, figure out what to do with it. And of course these kits come real recommended, and we're going to give that a shot. I think that should make a difference and make this whole thing a lot more rideable. Won't be able to test it out today, unfortunately. It's raining really good out there. I mean, I guess I could go out and get wet, but I'd like to not do that. Plus, it's pretty cold today. Michigan is still thinking about staying in the winter weather. Froze yesterday morning. This morning was fairly okay. It wasn't freezing, but it was already raining and everything was already wet. And right now it's raining pretty good out there. I guess something I didn't realize, this does not have an air cleaner in it. Good to know. So I have to order an air cleaner for this. There's no screen in here to protect, you know, the engine from getting, you know, heavy dirt inside of it. So I'll go ahead and I'll find an air cleaner for that. Didn't realize it didn't have one in there. I've never had this apart, so I guess it's a good thing I'm taking it apart today. I don't think I need to remove the backing plate for the airbox. I do need to clean that out because it is quite dusty inside there. But what I'm going to do next is I'm going to go ahead and remove the kicker here, get that out of the way, and then get ready to remove this outer case cover. Now with the kicker removed, there's a few 8mm bolts holding this cover in place. I am missing one, so I'm going to have to go ahead and order that as well, because that one is gone. Not sure when that fell out or if it was even there when I bought it. It may not have been. And it looks like there's just the 5 bolts holding everything in place. Obviously I'm missing 1, so I've got 4. Of course you can see your kicker assembly there and the ratchet gear, and of course the belt has worn inside of here and it's pretty gross. So I'll have to go ahead and wipe all of this out as well. But this is what we're replacing today. This is the stock Variator on this bike. The outer cover, I believe, stays, but the inner with the roller bearings, that's what comes out. So we need to go ahead and get the proper socket to get this removed, and then we'll be able to pull this assembly apart. The nut that's holding this in place is a 17 millimeter, and I'm gonna hit it with the impact to get it to remove. There's a nut and a washer on the back side of the ratchet plate for the kicker. And then there's the outer ramp here. And these are splines, so you gotta be careful with that. They're super tiny little splines. I don't know if you can see those in there. This outer cover has been chipped up a little bit. There's a couple spots that are broken. I'm not sure if somebody was wrenching on this thing or what they've done to it, but I need to clean that up as well. Now we're gonna just squeeze this belt together and pull it out of the way. On the inside here, there should be the center washer, and that's hooked to the Variator itself. And there are roller weights in here. And this is how the motorcycle works itself. That belt rides on this ramp here, and as it gets up to speed, the belt gets further out. Well, these weights help throw that out. And I don't know if they say what weight they are on them. They might not. But this Polini kit has different weights inside of it, and that's what helps it to, throw the weights faster, to move a little quicker. So that's why we're replacing it, just to get this a little bit better centrifugal force. Of course, there's the inner cover there. I'm going to get a rag and I'm going to wipe this stuff up real quick just to kind of get it cleaned up. I don't want to put it back together dirty like it is. I don't love all this dust in there, and it's belt dust. As this thing runs, obviously there's friction in there and the belt is wearing. The belt still looks to be in really good shape, honestly. Again, this bike doesn't have a ton of miles on it, but it is dusty and dirty, and I do want to clean these parts up. Alright, I've gone ahead and cleaned up the parts as best I could, wiped the inside of this case out, just trying to get some of that dust taken care of. Hopefully it's a little bit better now. It just looks gross. I'm not sure if it hinders anything. It may, I'm not sure, but I did clean it up quite a bit. And I did unpack the Polini kit. So of course this is the Variator itself, and it comes with 2 sets of weights, and they're a 6.9 gram and a 5.6 gram. Now, something I've been told is to run every other weight and swap, one 6.9 and one 5.8. So I'm going to take that suggestion, and that's what I'm going to do. There's 3 of each, because there's 6 places in here. You're supposed to run 6 weights, And from what I was told, this is going to help ramp up the speed and give you a good top end. So obviously hard to see in there, but I've got every other there with the 6.9s, I believe they are. Yep, 6.9s, and then we'll put the 5.8s in the other 3 slots. So now I have all of those installed. I'll have to put the cover back on, and in order to do that, it comes with new rubber guides here. Maybe they're plastic. So I gotta insert those. We'll take a look at the stock one to see if if it makes a difference. It doesn't look like it does. So we'll go ahead and snap those in place. And of course, with those snapped in place, then I can put this back into how it goes. So on the cover that holds the rollers in place, these little plastic guides, they do have a specific orientation. As you can see, there's one raised end and one low end. That low end faces out like that. The raised end, the higher end is on the inside. And if you don't put those on right, then this cover does not go back on. So one thing to keep in mind. Now the variator is all reassembled. We're going to go ahead and put the new sleeve back in place, or in place, not back in place. All right, with the sleeve and the variator assembled, what we're going to do is we're going to pull the belt back out of the way. We're going to slide this variator back into place. I'm going to push it all the way down, I think. I'd like to get this. We'll push this back cover all the way in. That way it gives me the most of this sleeve, most surface area on that. That way the belt has something to ride on. Because the biggest thing you want is you don't want to crush this when you put it back together. When you want to slip this back in place, you just squeeze the belt a little bit, just like this, and this actually sits right on that center sleeve there. With that in place, then the outer is ready to be installed. Again, you want to just work this in place. You want to watch those tabs not to break anything, because like I said, it is splined. You don't want to mess up any of the splines. If you mess up the splines, then you have to replace the crank, as far as I understand. You have to split the cases and do all that good stuff, so you want to be careful real here not to mess those up. And that's not something I want to mess with. So I'm just going to take my time and get this in place. Working it back and forth, little bits at a time here. Again, checking that belt just to make sure it's sitting in the middle, we're not crushing it. All right, with that in place, we'll put the kicker gear back in. And that also is riding on the splines. There's not a ton of surface area on there, so you want to make sure that's in place the way it should be. Now again, you don't want to screw up those splines. I am going to go ahead and put my blue Loctite on right now, just so that way it's ready to be sealed. I don't want this nut to back off. Have a catastrophic failure, that would be a bad thing. Go ahead and push that in place, make sure that's all the way lined up. We'll put our washer back on. With the washer on, we'll go ahead and we'll start threading the nut back into place. Just keeping tension on everything, just to keep it where it's supposed to be. I'm going to set this to the lowest setting. I know this is not the right way to do it, but we're going to go ahead and impact it back in place. And I'm just checking to make sure everything rolls nicely right now. And so far it does. Looking at the ramp, I'll show you that so you guys can see how it looks. If you take a look in here, you can see the ramp faces. You can see where belt rides on that. You can see that everything is lined up the way it should be. I don't have any space back here that's undue. Nothing that shouldn't be that way. It's exactly the way it was when it came apart. So this is all set. With everything set here with the new Polini kit and the variators all buttoned back up, I've got my assembly all back together. Now it's time to put the cover back on. So I'm going to go ahead and put the cover back into place. Before I get too far, I'm just going to make sure that the kicker actually engages. Well, I'm glad I didn't get this buttoned up. I actually took a minute to talk to my brother about the application I was going with. And he said, based on our area and what I'm trying to accomplish, that I actually want to go with the heavier weights. That way it spools up faster and it pulls harder. That way she'll be able to get out into traffic, or not necessarily traffic, but get on the road faster and get up to speed faster. And that's the ultimate goal here, is to be able to get to speed faster. So I'm going to go ahead and pull this back apart. And then I'm going to put the 6.9 weights in and just run with that. Thankfully, it's easy to pull apart. I'm going to go ahead and push that cover back off and out of the way. I'm going to pull out all the 5.6 gram weights. Now I've swapped it back over to 6.9 gram weights, so that has the heaviest weights in the variator itself. We'll go ahead and push that sleeve back down, put the cover back on. And of course, go back through and reinstall this. Slide the belt back into place, put the outer ramp back on, and I could have polished this a little bit. That probably would have helped. Obviously the outer edge somebody's already pried on a little bit for some reason, but I think it's fine. I think it'll work for what I'm doing. So we'll go ahead and squeeze this belt here. I've got that back in place. I'm going to Loctite it again while I'm at this point. Get the blue Loctite back on. I'm going to go ahead and put the kickstart assembly back on again, lining up those splines. Those are on. Get the washer back in place. And of course put that nut back on. Again, we'll tighten it up with the impact. That spins nice and free again, so we'll go ahead and put the cover on now and make sure to line up that kickstart assembly. Dowel pin in the back there. On the back side there's a dowel pin and there's a dowel pin on the front. So the front dowel pin, back dowel pin. We'll line those up with the dowel holes. Check and make sure that this is going to engage, and it is. So with that engaging, we'll go ahead and Put our bolts back into place. And they are all the same size. Gotta be careful there not to lose that. I am going to Loctite these because they did have Loctite on them originally. But a lot of that is worn off. And I want to go ahead and make sure that these things don't come back out. Based on losing one already. Pull that kickstart back off and out of the way. Take some of the weight off the front of this cover. I'm gonna go ahead and tighten these up. Not going to tighten it all the way. I'm going to go ahead and put the other ones back in. And they were all on the bottom, so I'm just going to put them back on the bottom. I'm going to leave that front upper one out of there just for now. I am going to order another one so that way I have all 5 of them and they're in properly. I also have to order an air cleaner for this air box since there's not one inside. Not sure why that is, and I'll clean that out too. I'm sure there's a torque sequence on these. Typically a lot of things are like outside, outside, inside, inside. And that's what I'm trying to mimic here with this. Obviously I'm missing one, so I can't do that. Of course, all this stuff is aluminum, so I'm not going to go ahead and wrench on them real hard. I'm going to allow the Loctite to do its job and hold everything in place. Now with that done, we'll go ahead and we'll get the Kickstarter put back in place. And that, my friends, is how you install a new variator on your Honda Metropolitan. It's the same on the Honda Ruckus, the 50cc engine. I believe it's the same kit for all of these bikes, and I could be wrong on that. This is a 2002. My 2003 has different roller weights in it. I feel like that is the same stuff that's going on with the newer bikes as well. I could be wrong. I'm not sure if they changed the variators or anything like that, but I know that the weights, I think the weights are all exactly the same. Anyway, I wanted to show you guys how that worked. I don't have a battery for it right now. I have some cleaning and maintenance I need to do on the bike. So I'm going to go ahead and do that stuff, and then once I get a battery, I'm going to go ahead and put the battery in it, and then I'll have to take this thing for a test run. And I'm excited to see how it rides then. I know how much of a dog this was originally. I mean, you'd get on the throttle, and this thing just kind of meandered out into the road and down the road and took forever. I'm excited to see if this gives it a little more pep in its step. Hopefully that's what it does. That's the ultimate goal here. Anyway, I wanted to show you how that worked, and I appreciate you guys following along. If you liked the video, give her a like. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, hit that subscribe button. I'm going to work on all kinds of things. It's going to be scooters and Harleys and whatnot. I've got all kinds of projects, honestly, and I'm trying to, film the things that I'm doing. I'm not a certified motorcycle mechanic by any means, but, I know enough to, get my way through a lot of this stuff. So if I'm doing something wrong, please let me know. Please, drop a comment and tell me, how I'm doing it wrong. Or if, you like the content, drop a comment and say, hey, I like the content. I appreciate, the feedback either way. As always, guys, I'm rambling now, so I need to get going. We'll catch you next time.